AI Mentors is brought to you by Alldus International, covering your business's staffing, consulting, and networking needs. Our podcast, AI Mentors, brings you the leading minds in AI, sharing their story, their success, and their advice. Focusing on fast-tracking you to the top, AI Mentors cuts through the hype to help you kickstart your data science career.
You're listening to AI Mentors. I'm your host, JP Valentine. Today we have Sidney Madison Prescott. Sidney is the VP of Global Intelligent Process Automation, covering RPA, AI, and machine learning for Bank of New York Mellon. Sidney, welcome to the show.
Excellent. Thank you. I am very excited to be here.
Sidney, if we could start with a little bit of background of yourself and talk about what your current role at BNY Mellon involves.
Absolutely. So my background, and we'll dive into this, I'm sure, as the conversation continues, began with a degree in philosophy. In terms of my current role, so I am currently vice president and one of the senior leaders on the Intelligent Process Automation team. That is a global organization. So we do have implementations in India, in the UK, and in the US. And my role there is really to optimize both the methodology that the team is using to deploy automations within the enterprise, and also to really facilitate better understanding really of RPA technology, which is robotic process automation, and to also look for opportunities that we will have to really have a very robust intelligent process automation program, which will include kind of the digitization of data through OCR, also include some machine learning aspects and some artificial intelligence aspects.
Amazing.
So that's kind of, yes, where I stand with BNY.
What made you decide to approach a career in AI and data science, given your philosophy background? What were the triggers, or what was the interest that led you to where you are now?
So I like to say that my career kind of chose me. So originally I had planned to continue a stint in academia and possibly a PhD in philosophy. But as fate would have it, I had a former classmate that reached out with an opportunity for my previous employer, First Data. They are one of the global leaders in the financial payments industry. So I initially accepted that offer and came on board, and I worked within asset management and configuration management. And I think that's where I really found a passion for technology, just for being in IT. I found the work incredibly fascinating. I was initially tasked with working on software contract renewals, true ups. I began to kind of spend all of my free time poring over white papers, learning everything from, what are virtual machines to what is data integrity to, what qualifies as a configuration management database. And then before long, I was hooked. I was still in school at the time, started competing in hackathons, and that really furthered kind of my desire to continue learning and growing in technology. At that point, I really started to consider branching out from my initial desire to stay in academia and to dive into technology. It just, the flow of it, the work, the people that I was surrounded with, everything really appealed to me in terms of a career. And I started my first official role really working to build and manage the company's first data quality and governance program. And that was really rewarding because I was able to drive, again, as we spoke of, those KPI targets, those measurable objectives within the business. And as a result, the successes that I had driving greater accuracy and consistency across enterprise-wide databases launched me into a promotion where I was able to then have an opportunity to create and manage the company's first intelligent automation center of excellence. And that is where I really began to dive into more of the intelligent automation aspect. So everything from RPA, the robotic process automation, to machine learning, digitization of data, artificial intelligence. And I think it really was just the ability to have a hand in leading innovation on a global scale that really spoke to me and allowed me to continue to want to further my career in AI. I just think that capability to be an innovator is such a fundamental opportunity for each of us in technology to kind of create something from nothing. And I believe it's not just about innovation and creating something, but it's also about solving problems that can drive those measurable returns for an enterprise. And that really spoke to me, having those objectives and being able to really see a project come to fruition and delivering, 7-figure, return on investment for a global corporation is something that's such a powerful feeling. In terms of an accomplishment, in terms of getting to work with so many amazing technologists across the board, right? From a solutions engineer to a developer to a member of senior leadership, and all kind of being able to have an opportunity to bundle all of that together and with the goal in mind of how can I improve upon what has already been done, that has really appealed to me and kept me just really embracing and driving myself within the artificial intelligence, machine learning, and RPA landscape.
I think what would be helpful for the next generation of data scientists and data engineers who are listening to this is to get some advice from somebody who's been through it. So what should somebody look for or focus on when they're trying to make that transition from academia to industry?
I believe that transition starts by becoming more familiar with the primary goals of a business, because they do differ quite drastically from the objectives of, say, an academic scholar. In academia, you're more concerned with adding your voice and logic kind of to the broader conversation in order to spawn kind of new modalities of thinking. And those launch additional ripples, and you basically have an opportunity to contribute to the amount of discourse surrounding a particular topic. But I think once you venture out and you start really looking at industry-specific work, you really are focused more on how to optimize existing business processes and how do you create strategies that will decrease operational costs and really improve the company's overall return on investment. So there's room within that construct of industry to, revolutionize the industry. But in order to get that buy-in, I think you still have to really understand how to deliver proven value. And I think someone who's transitioning from academia really should focus on the ways to drive kind of those key performance indicators within their given industry to really allow leadership to build that confidence, which will allow more flexibility in kind of advancing those unique initiatives. And I also think it's kind of important to understand the correlation between academia and industry, because I do think far too often we see academia and industry as this kind of construct where they're diametrically opposed to one another. And I do think that's a false dichotomy. I believe that the skill set that you hone in academia does translate seamlessly to the technology sector. As we've mentioned a few times, I came into technology more from a philosophy and political science background, but I do credit my academic studies for my ability to quickly parse and digest information, to devise potential solutions to business problems. Even my use of symbolic logic as a philosopher has absolutely aided my ability to kind of understand programming logic, because at the end of the day, there's a lot of nuances that broach both academia and technology. And I do think there's a synergy there that sometimes we tend to overlook.
Thank you. That there's so many amazing points which you've touched on there, which should definitely resonate with people currently in academia or people in their first or second role. The importance of understanding what they're working on must have a business use case, and in order for them to understand that, to be able to build confidence with who they're working with is essential. Very often we hear feedback from managers of data engineers or data scientists, junior teams who have that frustration where people coming from academia are coming from an environment where it's research, and moving into industry where you're being held to deliverables or KPIs or something that's going to impact the business is an important factor. And I think you gave some really, really valuable advice there that people should definitely take hold. So thank you for that. Focusing then on the work you've done with various teams, you've obviously been around data science teams now for quite some time. What does the ideal data science team look to you? How do you build it? How do you manage it?
That's a great question. And I actually get that question a lot as I work with various companies. It's what does this team look like, and what does the structure of the reporting structure look like, the deliverables, all of that. I think it always starts fundamentally with understanding the problem that you are trying to solve. Have you quantified the problem that the firm really wants to solve, right, by leveraging a data science team or an automation team? I think you have to have a very clear objective in mind for the overall program, including, creating those well-defined metrics and ways that you will define programmatic success, so that you can then almost deliver those back to the team at large. And that just helps to really set expectations in terms of what is a team like this going to deliver and why is it structured the way that it is. I think secondly, you really need to find out what makes your team members tick. Where do their professional passions lie? How do they approach technology? And how do their approaches really align to the more innovative aspects of a data science and intelligent automation endeavor? I think that's important because you need to really consider the barriers to entry that you might have from a bias standpoint as you build out the skill sets of the individuals on the team. I think it's important to make sure that you have individuals who, within their function, kind of take the limits off of what they think of when they think about technology, designing solutions, and delivering value to an enterprise. And I think unique ways of solving problems really help a program go from a good program to a great program, an ideal program, an ideal team. I think you should also really think about, are you pulling team members in to the project who will really base their responses on prior failures and kind of look at, some of the previous blockers and challenges to automation projects and bring those into play in this new kind of data science team? Or are they rule breakers? Are they looking for ways to really create solutions for the business that may not exist today? If you can find individuals who you can bring into your team who not only have the analytical skills, not only have, the technical prowess, but they have almost a green field mentality when it comes to devising an automated solution end to end, I think that really has an impact on the way that the team works together, the way that the team is able to deliver on objectives, and also the way that the team can be successfully managed. It's very powerful when you really engineer a team kind of based on that shared fate philosophy, right? Where your developers, your design authority, your operational support, your leaders, they all feel like they are not only a part of that end-to-end solution design lifecycle, but they also own the responsibility, and they recognize that a failure at any phase of that SDLC really does impact whether the team wins or loses at delivering value at an enterprise level. So I just think it's absolutely critical to really structure every role on the team in a way that each individual contributor is aware of, that shared fate, and that they also have, their individual needs that are answered as well, right? They have a clear career trajectory in mind for their contributions, that you're touching base with them on a regular basis to make sure that your team members are being challenged, right? Or are we challenging you enough from a technical aspect, from a bandwidth aspect, right? And the number of projects that you're contributing to. I think all of those just can really build an ideal team where everyone feels that their individual contributions are not only relevant, but heralded as a key component for the overall success of the team.
That's really helpful advice, and I think that will resonate not only with data scientists, data engineers, but also managers who are trying to get that balance right, because it goes far beyond an individual meeting a simple job description. The culture and communication is almost the driving force behind the success or failure of a team. And you've obviously a lot of experience working on that, so it was very helpful. So just to finish up then, and Sidney, on talking on some of the challenges that you've faced along the way, and what you've had to do to overcome them. And I think that's very important to share with people also, because it's not a straight trajectory to a senior role. There's always the ups and downs, and if you could share some unique challenges that you faced and what you've had to do to overcome them, that would be great.
Absolutely. I think that's a great question, and it's a question that I don't think is asked enough. When I read, articles in the Wall Street Journal or New York Times, and you look at these really esteemed, senior leaders across various industries, but particularly in technology, and it almost seems as if everyone kind of rises up right from out of nowhere, from obscurity into this amazing career. And I think that actually sets the landscape sometimes, where we tend to think that there aren't a lot of challenges when it comes to a career in IT. I think there's a prevailing thought that everyone in technology should be a developer. And I think there's also, as we touched on earlier, almost a worldview on what a technology professional looks like. And that's everything from, what courses they should have studied in school, what kind of demeanor they should have. And I believe one of my biggest challenges that I've overcome within my career has really been, how do I defy those stereotypes of what a technology professional should look like, what they should have studied, whether or not they have, coding skills. I mean, I on every aspect of that, right, I defy the stereotypes. I mean, I come from a humanities background, so I'm more, is it STEAM than STEM? I am, a minority female. Unfortunately, minority females continue to have the lowest demographic in terms of representation within technology. And that comes with a lot of challenges. As a result, when I started out my career, I really had to learn how to become my own advocate. And that's a practice that I still follow to this day. I've had amazing mentors throughout the years, which have really helped me to define both my skill set, to acknowledge and appreciate what I have to offer. But it has been a challenge to ensure that my ideas are not only heard, but received and given kind of that same credence as my male counterparts. In addition, there's a constant battle, and I hear this, and so I get asked this so many times, should you learn how to code? Do you, if you don't know Python, if you don't know Java, is there a place for you in technology? If you aren't a data scientist, and is there a role for you in technology? And I believe this is really just an artificial barrier to entry for individuals who may not have had that exposure, right, to a coding background. I think that the biggest challenge is really, as an individual, wrapping your mind and your thoughts around what you have to deliver and what you can bring to a team, to an organization, to an enterprise that is uniquely different from your counterparts. Even within a team setting, each individual on that team brings a different perspective, and that diversification of thought oftentimes culminates in incredible solution designs, incredibly impactful ways that you can revolutionize an industry, change an organization. And I think we truly just need those diverse skill sets to ensure that we address everything, right, from implicit bias in artificial intelligence to the barriers, right, to entry just into technology. So for me, I think the biggest challenge has been defying that baseline worldview on what a technology professional should look like, and really almost redefining that for myself based on the skill set that I bring to the table, and really showcasing what I have to offer an organization.
Well, thank you for that, because not only have you shared your own story about the challenges you've faced and how you've had to break down these historical stereotypes of what a engineer or a tech professional should be, you've paved the way for the next generation, for people who can actually use you as an example of somebody who's done it, who admittedly you've just said you were the complete opposite of what is expected for a senior tech person. But not only have you done it, you've given advice on what people should look to do in order to make those steps. And hopefully people who listen to this who may not have considered a career in data science or data engineering can hear this, and it will give them confidence to explore. And the curiosity is the first part. And here's hoping that people hear this, take it on board, and pursue that curiosity, because amazing things can come from it. I would love to have further conversations about this with you, because I think talking about the impact of diversity and how you've broken down those stereotypes is a very important message that we should continue to share. But for now, Sidney, listen, thank you so much. This has been very enjoyable.
Thank you.
Get the Alldus advantage. Become a member of the Alldus community and enjoy some of the following: AI meetups. Once a month, our community gathers to listen to some of the leading experts in the world of data science and AI. Our speakers come from all over the world, including Dublin, Boston and Frankfurt. We also have our AI mentors. Our experts will provide mentoring to Alldus members. And don't forget our AI in Action podcast. Each week we have guests from all over the world talking us through their education, career and more. Become an Alldus member and get the Alldus advantage. For more information and to sign up for our newsletter, log on to www.alldus.com. That's www.alldus.com. Alldus International, empowering through AI.